The Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Cape Canaveral will come to order. It is February 28th, 6 o'clock, and it's time to call the roll. Renee, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Denny,
Here.
Ms. Jenicoor,
Here.
Dr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Price,
Present.
Mr. Russell,
Here.
Mr. Sharp,
Present.
Mr. Stroud.
Here.
Okay, this is the part of the agenda for public participation. The only person I see out there is Mr. Dickey, and I don't believe he wants to speak yet. So I'll move past that unless, is there any participation from the deputy? Okay, thank you. Don't want to pass anybody up. Okay, we have no old business. Under new business, we need to approve the minutes of January the 24th.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we accept or approve the minutes of January 24th, 2024 minutes as written.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, Renee, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Denny,
For the motion.
Ms. Jenicoor,
For the motion.
Dr. Miller,
For the motion.
Mr. Price,
For the motion.
Mr. Russell,
For the motion.
Mr. Sharp,
For the motion.
Mr. Stroud.
For the motion.
All right. Now we're into the business of discussing the allowance of a current height adjustment or whatever is needed for certain rooftop uses and provide staff a direction on a future code revision. So we're not doing a code review, although we do have some material for lots of good ideas in front of us. And we'll depend on the staff to lead us through that material as they want to point out pertinent parts of it. And so I'll turn it over to the staff and let them proceed, and we'll have our own discussion.
Good evening, everyone. I am here bringing this back. We briefly spoke about this, very briefly, at the September P&Z meeting. This topic is about finding some way or not finding some way, depending on how we want to approach this, of looking at our current height requirements across the board, all zoning districts, to allow for certain rooftop amenities or active rooftop uses is kind of how I refer to them. And you guys can't see my slideshow, but I kind of just give a few examples. Active rooftop uses are things that would take advantage of the city's unique geography, its unique position, observation decks, bars and restaurants, rooftop gardens, things like that. And so typically we've heard this from hotel developers, but not entirely hotel developers. We've had some residents here who are interested in utilizing their rooftops. And just the example I'm thinking of, a gentleman wants to use his rooftop to view launches, but his spouse is in a wheelchair, so she would need an elevator to get up to that top floor. And by our code, we would require anything that would be considered habitable by humans. Let me find the exact. Not intended for human. Anything not intended for human occupancy cannot be considered an exception to the height. So this is kind of a challenge as far as providing these rooftop amenities, because in a lot of cases these are hotels that have already received permission, in some cases site plan approval, to build up to 6 stories, 65 feet, and are wanting to add observation decks, and have argued, somewhat convincingly, that an observation deck is not necessarily intended for human occupancy, but ADA code requires that there's an elevator and an elevator lobby, and that is something required for human occupancy. So based on our city code, section 110, 471, we just couldn't make it work. We feel that, you know, anything, area of refuge, elevator lobby, these are things that are intended for human occupancy. So it's a bit of a tricky situation. We are turning to you guys for some guidance here. It's a pretty unique problem. I'm sure many of you are aware there's some rooftop bars around Brevard County. Titusville has the Space Bar, Hotel Melby has one. But those, specifically both those cases were part of a larger planned development that allowed for heights. I think in the case of Titusville, it was maybe 85 feet, don't quote me on that. And then in Melbourne, it was even taller. So these took place in more urbanized areas that wanted, you know, more height. So staff has done some research. Like I said, it's a pretty unique problem that we're facing, so we're gonna have to get a little creative. We do discuss a couple of possible solutions or possible approaches. It could be as simple as amending section 110, 471 to add the height of an elevator, lobby, or other accessibility options as necessary for ADA compliance to serve a rooftop use as a permitted height exception. And obviously these are just scratching the surface, so these are just kind of batting around some ideas. There's also the potential of, if we wanted to introduce more board approval, getting certain, you know, how currently the CAB can approve heights above 45 feet up to 65 feet. Doing something like that for a rooftop amenity, whether it's a CAB, P&Z, we could talk about that. And then obviously there's always leaving the code as is, leaving it as a maximum of 65 feet with CAB approval, and asking, you know, hoteliers and other commercial buildings to work within the codes that we already have, whether that's incorporating a rooftop bar within a step back on the 5th floor. Some of the developers we've spoken to about that idea have given us a little pause with our code requiring 150 units and the size of some of the parcels. They would argue that it's a little difficult to fit the minimum number of units in and all of the infrastructure necessary, while also providing a carve out. I haven't actually done gone in and seen that, but it's certainly a possibility. But so yeah, we're really turning it to you guys, asking for some, you know, thoughts, anything that you guys may be able to offer. Just a few considerations. We would certainly want to include certain conditions on any rooftop amenities. So if there were a rooftop bar or a restaurant, we would certainly want that to be something open to the public. You know, conditions like that are the type of things that we would probably want to put on that, but we can talk about that when we get there. And then just things, you know, making sure that any shade canopies, seating areas, they all meet wind speeds and, you know, kind of obvious stuff that, you know, maybe isn't so obvious if you don't put it in code. I spoke with John Roeder. He is from Kaizen Companies. He is a hotel developer, and he couldn't be here tonight. He was planning to be, but he really wanted to show his support, so he has emailed me, and it's not too bad it's only a couple paragraphs, so I would like to read it in the record, and I do have some copies if you guys would like. So this is John Roeder from Kaizen Companies. He is a hotel developer. He says, I would like to express our support of the proposed ordinance modification to exceed maximum height restrictions for the development of rooftop bars, observation decks, and restaurants in the city of Cape Canaveral. This modification represents a tremendous opportunity for the city to enhance its economic vitality, cultural appeal, and overall quality of life. Rooftop establishments offer a unique and immersive experience for residents and visitors alike. They can provide stunning panoramic views of Cape Canaveral, which is a beautiful city and has amazing coastlines, creating memorable and enjoyable experiences for all who visit. By allowing buildings to exceed maximum height restrictions for the development of rooftop bars, observation decks, and restaurants, the city can attract new businesses, increase tourism, and stimulate economic growth in the community. Furthermore, rooftop venues can serve as focal points for community gatherings and events, fostering a sense of community pride and unity. They can also contribute to the revitalization of underutilized areas, transforming them into vibrant and dynamic spaces that benefit the city as a whole. So, wanted to read his thoughts into the record. Like I said, we've been speaking for quite a while, so he wanted to be here and wanted to make sure his thoughts were heard. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear any thoughts you guys have, questions, if you want to talk it out and, try to reach some solutions.
Okay. I don't know which question to ask first. I've got so many, but I think
It's a lot.
if I'm smart enough to think of them, the rest of the board is too. So they'll come out. You're talking about retrofitting existing rooftops to build such an accommodation. You're thinking about new site plans that'll incorporate it to begin with, but you still got to have the height exception, or if they're able to, they can put a rooftop accommodation within their own allocation of stories. Anyway, and then there's elevators, outside elevators, all those things. So I'm just going to ask the board, and I'm going to make it sort of a free form instead of asking each one of you one by one. Let's just have a conversation about this. And what are your ideas? You've had a week to think about it, or more than that. You've had a time to think about it. What ideas do you have, and what problems do you foresee? Just open it up. Nancy, you got anything you want to start us off with?
No, I went through this package. It was very good, thank you, but it seems like such an attractive thing to do and something we should do. But I think it's not going to be easy as it looks. At first I thought, well, we can just change the heights. I think there's going to be a lot more to it. I know it could be done and we can get through it, but it's not going to be an easy one. Not as easy as I thought it would be initially anyway.
Yeah, how do you take an existing hotel and retrofit their
Yeah.
roof to
And keep the rooms
do
that you're
that.
required, that's what I was thinking, well, if they just cut some of that out, we wouldn't have to go up, and then they would lose their, what, was it 150 rooms?
Rooms, yeah.
And
And the rooms are, 150 rooms are, for those of you that don't know, there might be somebody new on the board, but the 150 room requirement is to make sure that we don't have lots of little mom and pop hotels around town like we used to, which turned down to lesser areas of living in. So anyway, 150, so there's that requirement.
If I could just clarify one thing that you said, Ms. Gentlecore. I suppose it's probably possible to retrofit an existing hotel, but it's to have a rooftop, but
Yeah.
it would be very expensive. And all the conversations we've had so far have been hotels that have not been constructed yet.
I know that, I think, and
Right.
you can see it, but we have so many new ones that have just gone up
Sure,
and
yeah.
just opened, that they're gonna be in competition with it.
Right, yeah, they're all
Yeah.
looking for a way to get a
Yeah.
leg up, so, yeah.
So the ones that are under construction would still have a chance to incorporate the rooftop amenities into their already established plan?
There's one that has a letter that was approved by our building official. They included a hypothetical design for a rooftop observation deck, with the acknowledgement that this isn't currently possible, and that, should something happen in the future, an ordinance changing the language of the code, then it could be explored. But as it stands, they're not planning on doing that design.
But if we change the code to accommodate it with an ordinance, which we don't have yet, but with an ordinance to come, they'd still have a chance to incorporate it into
They
their
could, yeah.
design.
Yeah, assuming they met everything in the ordinance, yeah.
John, what do you think?
I agree with Nancy. I spent a little bit of time on this, and what occurred to me was I need more education.
Yeah.
I thought, what I was thinking was, boy, it'd be nice to have some kind of little workshop at some point to talk about, what needs to be done, the things that really need to be, I would be excited about a rooftop venue of something, but I have no idea about how to go about.
Right, and it involves not just me, but, our building official, fire, everyone, so maybe a workshop wouldn't be a bad idea, or just some,
I think that would be
form
a great
of-
idea.
of,
You mentioned something
educational.
today I was totally unfamiliar with, because that's just not my background.
yeah, right,
And it's
right.
like, well, what
It's
is that,
multifaceted, it's goes very deep, so, I think that's a good comment.
So that's all I have.
Well, Daniel, what do you think?
Let's see if I can make some sense out of this. Usually when looking at something like this, especially when you have so many people that probably have wanted this for a while, and you come in and you do something different that allows the last few to have that ability, someone's getting real frustrated. So you've got two situations. You can change the code. You can allow for this extra room for someone to come in, and then you're going to have to worry about all the people that are come back in and say, well, you let that happen. Why don't you just, fudge this a little bit here, and then I can come and retrofit and get this done. So you end up in that situation, or either the existing ones to retrofit, like you've spoken about, is an economic burden. They're going to say, sure, you're letting me do this now as a retrofit. That's all great and dandy, but this next guy's not going to have that burden.
Right.
So there's typically you have to come up with some sort of compromise rather than completely opening the doors to the new opportunity. You have to give the guy that's already been in there, and there's enough hotels around here that probably would like to have some sort of resolution. It's going to be somewhat expensive, but rather than completely taking out a floor to accommodate a restaurant economic situation above, you might be able to do something where there's a partial usage of that fifth floor, where you can allow them to have some sort of means to access an ingress or egress to the roof that does not encroach upon the space as much.
Right.
That way it's less of a burden for them, and they could possibly do it. A lot of times that ends up being an exterior structural situation where you have to get everybody on board to say, okay, well, we can pop out over here, we can retrofit the structure, we can allow for this ramp to go
Right,
around and
so
get
something
up.
like a ramp, yeah.
And we can do this in a semi-covered environment to allow this to happen. That's in a retrofit situation. For the new guys, we're looking at mixed use. Those are the guys, because I don't know how many hotel sites we have left that are strictly, obvious hotel sites. What I'm seeing since I've been in here is the next opportunities are the larger 7-acre plus mixed use situations where you've got a different animal coming in, which if they get the ability to do this in the new way, there's less frustration because they're kind of a new animal. So the hotel guys that are here can't say, well, you know, you let him do it, because it's not just him. They have to take on extra burden of economies by allowing some residential, some office. They've got more infrastructure they've got to deal with. So it might be easier to get in a situation where we partially do one and partially another. Maybe we do change the height restriction and allow that in these new zoning areas, which gives everybody the opportunity to take and maximize those projects, which is gonna make them more desirable for developers to come in and do a mixed use if they have that ability to go on top. The retro guys, if we can come in and say, well, you know, we'll give you a shot at this. We're willing to pull and tug on the code a little bit on maybe the room amounts or the space allocated and the construction ability to make this work.
Right, okay.
So I don't know if all that made sense, but it's kind of,
Yeah, no,
you
it's-
got to split them up.
Right.
You
Give a
got to
give
give
and
the
take
new
and-
guy the new guy
yeah.
stuff without hurting the guy that's still sitting in there wanting to make this work.
Yeah. I
And
think
then
that's
we're
a
all
good
going to
point.
benefit from it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to create a bigger desire for our community for the places that are already designated to be this type of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just making it a better this type of thing.
Well, change happens.
It is.
So
Yeah.
if you're an already existing hotel and a new animal comes along that has a rooftop amenity and you don't have one, change happens.
Yeah, and that's the least part of this, but it's, you kind of want to try to be fair.
And you rang rang an alarm bell. If you're willing to give on room requirements, you're starting to chew on the main pillar of hotel requirements in town that keeps little bitty hotels coming in and then turning into condos and then turning into undesirable rental flop houses, which we've had happen before. And it took us a lot of years to get that out of here. And I really don't want to see it creeping back in.
No, I would see that as maybe 4 or 5 rooms at the most.
No,
on that upper
none
floor.
of them.
None of them? You think it
Don't
makes that much of a?
don't give an inch. If you give an inch, then you're setting yourself up to give a mile later.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's just my
No,
position, and I worked
I don't
hard
have
to get us
experience in
there
that, yeah.
over a lot of years. And I just hate to see any erosion set in, and that's just my opinion. I will speak loudly and long about it.
There's other ways of getting around it, I think.
Yeah, the other ways. Well, didn't mean to jump in there with
No, I think
both feet, but
that's all the kind of stuff we have to hash out.
it's stuff we're gonna have to address. About you?
Well, I agree with everything everybody has said here. I don't know if there's a way for the existing buildings to come through an exception process based on, only for rooftop restaurants or bars or observation things, that they can come back into the board for it, and we would have to be open to the public and all of these other kinds of things, and maybe do that on an exception basis, only for that reason. And we just came up with the mixed use, we still have they gotta come to us if they wanna go 6 stories versus not us, the other board, right? But just kind of some ground rules for whatever a rooftop thing that we would want. And again, I agree with you. Build it into, so the new people coming in, it's a possibility, and then let the old guys come in with an exception if we have.
Well, yeah, if the existing people, structures, businesses want to retrofit and see a way to do it, and we can give them a way to do it, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. I do like the workshop idea with the fire department and everybody else there, because it's certainly not my bailiwick. I don't understand it all. I mean, I understand some of it, but the intricacies.
Good ideas. How about you,
Can
Dr.
I ju-
Miller?
just-
Yeah.
no,
sure.
It just
Go
came
ahead.
to my mind.
Go
I
ahead.
saw this one time where hotel situation, you've got all this parking out there. Because of codes, they had to have that parking and their building could only do so much. But they created, I can't even remember where I saw this, they created covered parking structure into a corner of their lot. And that became the rooftop for an exterior, economically viable space. And it can be,
That's a cool idea.
and it can be accessed with a much less expensive elevator situation and exterior staircases for fire. We would just have to allow them that ability to build out into their parking lot. But you're not really, if you do it right, you're not gonna lose too many spaces, and you're actually gonna get a couple covered spaces. Just a thought.
Yeah,
Popped
yeah,
into my mind.
Yeah, an idea.
Another alternative.
How about you, Dr. Miller? You got anything to throw on the fire?
I like the idea of doing this. I've been in some of these venues in other cities and thoroughly enjoy them. We have some beautiful views in this city, and I think that it would attract a lot of businesses and a lot of people. I know a lot of people here that go all the way to Melbourne to Melby because they enjoy going up there on the roof. If we do it, I think you've got to come up a way with that the existing buildings can renovate. I agree with you not giving up any of the rooms because I agree with the concept of keeping the mom and pop things out of the city. I've always had a good time when I went on one of these venues, and I think it would attract so many more people to our city.
Okay. Steve?
There are some real logistical nightmares of trying to take a building up another floor. First place you got to start, and generally these buildings are designed to have just enough to make them run, is your fire pump. You got to get water up to that next level on that floor. That fire pump's going to be connected to a standpipe system. Standpipe system's going to be part of the stairwell, and stairwells are going to have to be brought up to the level of where you want to do that on the roof. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on many a roof doing flow testing of fire pumps and proofing standpipes and stuff. This is going to be one of the requirements. You put a structure up there, you've got to get a fire sprinkler system into that structure. So it's a lot of logistical nightmares. If you've not planned or have the capacity in your pump system, odds are you're not going to be able to push that water up another floor to where it meets any type of design criteria. Another situation you're going to run into, obviously, is your elevator equipment. You're going to have to get your elevator equipment up to that level. And the elevators they're building now are probably capable of doing that because they're not building the big dog houses on top of the roofs for the elevator equipment. They're able to keep it down in the shaft and stuff. So that technology's changed. But from the get-go, if you've not planned this, if you've not put that size, that equipment, and had your designers look at that, that's going to be a real nightmare trying to take care of that. Another problem you're going to run into is your area of refuge. I work on a lot of plans every day, and one of the things I'm seeing in all of the plans is the requirement for communication equipment for the area of refuge. What that essentially is it's a designated spot where somebody that is not capable of moving themselves, they go to, and there's a box on the wall, and they hit a button. And if somebody doesn't answer it downstairs within a few seconds, it dials out and calls a monitoring station so that they can identify where that person's at. So that's another thing that you have to be thinking about when you're talking about retrofit. Again, if you're in the middle of construction of building one of these and you haven't taken these things into account, the biggest starting point is going to be that fire pump, the ability to get that water up to another level. And those are some of the logistics that I see when you're talking about doing this, especially for your retrofits. But again, if you're under construction and you're putting in you've already ordered your equipment, you may not be able to do this at this point. This is something that you really have to see way down the road and start it from the get-go on the design.
Okay, very good. So we put all these ideas on the table, and there are more to come, I'm sure. And I'm reminded that one of the pub owners came to us and gave us a solution one time. We were struggling with pub parking and restaurant parking, and Meg walked in and gave us the solution. And we got that solution from the business owners. And it occurs to me, before we do a lot more work on this, we ought to hear from the hotel owners or the large structure builders, either as another meeting or added testimony or just a workshop, and invite them to it.
Yeah, I mean, so I've heard multiple people now have mentioned more education and hearing from more experts. It seems like something that we should follow up, whether it's another meeting or a workshop or just something to make sure that everyone's a little more educated on the topic. Am I picking that up correctly?
Yeah, I think we ought to have a workshop with the theme of the workshop being further education about rooftop amenities, and then more education about fire protection and the shelter and all that stuff, just so we get all the ideas out and all of us thinking with it.
A lot of time, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
A lot of times, person to pull on is the guy that wants it most.
Yeah.
If you got somebody coming in here who wants to do that, come tell me how you think you can get it done.
Exactly what I was thinking.
And then, you explain it to us, we get our people in construction, fire code, and look at that, let them solve their own problem.
Yeah.
And they will. They're very good at it.
Want it bad enough.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Well-
these people want it. So I think if we can set up a date, I think they would be willing to.
I think it would be nice or helpful if we could have people with somebody that wants new construction, but also someone that's indicated they'd like to make this change in an existing facility. So they could say how they might think it would work. 'Cause we're hearing stuff that's, gonna be pretty rough to change.
Mr. Dickey?
The letter that Kyle read into the record from John, he's the developer who's under construction at Imperial and Astronaut right now. They're putting all their bores in right now.
Thank you.
Bore truck. So he's under construction, but he's trying to hedge his bets on the city passes this ordinance in time while he's under construction. But he still has time to make the necessary revisions to his plans to put in some rooftop improvements. So he would be a good one to hear from.
Yeah.
He's kind of straddling. We also have another hotel that we've met with. That is at the end of Challenger. It's just north of the old carpet place, going north out of town. They are getting ready to start putting their plans together. So that would be a hotel project that is just getting underway. And they want this, they've talked to us about wanting these amenities. So that would be a perfect example of somebody who is now getting under construction. And we have talked to some folks who already have hotels up that want to look at retrofitting. So I think if the board is interested, I think we can pony up some real walking, talking developers who can address some of these questions.
How about Tom Harmonson? He's Tom Harmonson, I should say.
Hermanson,
He's a hotelier.
Bob Bogger, who'd be the
Bob Bogger, those guys have helped us in the past to solve some thorny issues, so two more names.
Sounds like it needs to happen fast, though.
What's that?
Sounds like it needs to happen fast, though, this workshop situation.
Well, I know that they're chomping at the bit to
Yeah.
get going. So I'm sure I'll hear tomorrow how'd it go last night. So I'll be in touch with these people very shortly.
Well, don't let yourself get steamrolled. We don't need to get steamrolled into a big effort that we didn't used to have before tonight.
Yeah.
We'll work it as we need to work it.
Sure,
And I don't think we need to work it at the imperative of somebody's, I gotta do it now.
Agreed. Yeah, I think, though, what we're hearing is there is consensus on the board to put together a workshop. So we can do that. We can see if we can do something like that, maybe in April. That would give everybody some time to get it on their calendar to include potential speakers. So we'll shoot for sometime next month. Renee will work with the board. Maybe we can even do it. Do we have anything planned for the regular meeting date, the fourth Wednesday in April? Do we have anything on the agenda already for that? If not, we can,
What about March? I mean, are we doing?
I'm
anything
sorry,
March?
I said, I'm skipping a month.
Okay.
Fourth, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Susan.
We've got a workshop,
Yeah, we have
conflict situation that Renee's working right now.
Oh,
trying to
okay.
get
Yeah,
us
we've
all
got
together
Lexi's.
on the next week.
We'll get an invite out to the board. Maybe, it doesn't, we're typically supposed to meet on the second or fourth Wednesday of every month. So
We can pick one.
we could potentially do it as early as the second Wednesday of March.
Talk is gonna go out now as a result of this conversation tonight. People gonna wanna know about it. What'd you talk about? What are you gonna do about it? What are the next coming actions? And this will at least give a message for the public that, yeah, we heard it. We review it favorably and we're gonna workshop it.
Yeah, and this will be a public meeting. The workshop is a public meeting. It'll be a public hearing. It'll primarily be staff, speakers, board will be the main participants. But the chairman can certainly open it up for comments from the public. And the board can receive comments from the public. There'll be additional opportunities to, when an actual ordinance is brought to the board, there'll be an opportunity for the public to respond then, as well as when it ultimately goes to the council, if something does progress that far. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for public input.
Yeah, these names that we talked about, Hermanson, Bager, and the others that Kyle mentioned, we can ask them if they, once we settle on a date, if they can make it, or at least send a rep.
Yeah, if we can kind of get a count right now, what is the second Wednesday in March? The 13th?
That's pretty doggone.
That's
soon.
aggressive, yeah.
That's in 2 weeks.
Oh, it is 2 weeks? Okay, yeah, that probably wouldn't work. So if we can't, we'll,
I put it at least 4 weeks out.
yeah,
Well, just know I'm out of town on the fourth
okay,
Wednesday of that month.
okay. It may be the second Wednesday in April.
Is there a conflict if we did, say, the first Wednesday?
Make either one of those.
I don't think so. I mean, that would be I don't know if
Yeah, well, would a week matter, though, at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've met in the past on other than the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. I don't think it's a charter requirement, but we can potentially look at maybe the first Wednesday in April. Does anybody have any, like, blocks of time in April that you will not be available? John, you're a world traveler. You're gonna be gone in
telling
April?
Daniel, you are too, so. Or in the water.
I'll be here March and April.
Nothing major planned.
Okay. We'll see about lining up our speakers, and then we'll get some dates out to the board to see what works for y'all.
Renee, what are you hearing about the council workshop that we're talking about earlier?
We discussed this earlier, so I will follow up with the city manager's assistant She's still working with council on a
Understand.
date.
Okay, just have to work it. Right. Okay, we got a plan. You know, get the knowledgeable people together and workshop it. We don't know when yet, but it'll be at a set date. And that'll give us something to tell the public, interested parties out there they'll want to know. Okay. Anything else before we go to the next topic? All right, hearing none. Let's move on to our next agenda item. To discuss live-in work, land development regs, and provide, before we move on, I want to ask about all this paper that Kyle so kindly provided us with, all this information. It's a mixture of Kirkland requirements for their upcoming consideration of rooftop amenities, as well as, I guess, some of his own
Yeah,
city
there's some
of
Jackson.
Canaveral work interspersed with it. And so I got to looking at it, and I said to myself, what do we got here? And then I said, back off. It's a list of ideas. And,
It's probably too much information at this point, but I included the whole memo, just,
I thought it was about right. It was a lot of information, and it was more than I wanted it to sit down with, and then I made myself do it. And then I said, okay, crank that in, and then I listened to more.
yeah, I like that you can see the thought process when they write the memo of why they're doing this, you know, using the rooftop as an amenity, which is similar to, you know, what we're wanting to do.
They're trying to get ahead of the situation too. They got some great views out there. I've been in that area.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I have traveled extensively around Seattle and Renton and places like that because we had a lot of shuttle contractors in that area. So I was out there a lot. Beautiful area. All right. Any other thoughts? Hearing none, I'll move on to the live, work, land development reg discussion. And we'll turn that back to the staff and let you lead us through the summary and the ideas.
Sure, so I hope you guys liked open discussion, because this one is similarly kind of broad at this point. As you're all aware, and you played part in this, the mixed-use ordinance number 10-2023 was passed recently. We got word back from Florida Commerce that they had no comment, so we are officially have adopted this mixed-use language. And with that, one of the policies stated that City Council may adopt land development regulations to allow, quote, live-work units, or, quote, live-work space in commercial and industrial zoning districts, which allows a building or spaces within a building to be used jointly for commercial and residential purposes, where the residential use of the space is complementary to the primary use as a place of work. So, so we really just wanted to kind of lay a foundation for what you guys think of as live work, really just kind of defining what exactly that means, because I know I included different definitions from different municipalities. It can mean different things to different people. And then, you know, if we want to get into some more depth, what would the approval process for a live work unit look like? How many live work units are permitted on a property? Gets in the weeds a little bit, but just kind of starting to feel out what our live work land development regulations are going to look like, because we have a lot of people that are pretty excited about it, and we actually have a lot of places that are ripe for it. I mean, they've got the perfect setup for it, so we just want to get the ball rolling, but like I said, it's pretty broad at this point, and any ideas you guys have, please, we'd love to hear them.
Well, this is an important thing that we do here, because it's getting such that the service staffs and the working people can't get to work. Traffic's too thick and too far. So it's time. It's time for that to happen. It's already happened well, Europe's a good example. In Germany in particular, they have places inside the hotels where the staff can live and be there. And don't have trouble getting to work and traveling in from outside, but they still have problems. So anyway, anything we can do to help the working guy live closer to work is the right direction, I believe. I have one question. If I was a hotel and I wanted to have my staff come in and live, service staff come in and live in an allocation of rooms, if I had them, and the business is not so good that I can't spare the rooms, you know, that's an idea. I might want to just put the staff, but then again, each room, I don't know what amenities each room has to have and stuff like that. I don't know. I just threw that out there. That's mud against the wall. We'll see if it sticks. Guess we could just open it up again and see how we feel about that and what ideas are there. Nancy, start us off. You got anything, or shall I go over here to Daniel? He's got a lot of ideas, so we can use him.
I would just be kind of parroting some of the stuff. These last 2 pages were really helpful. And that's really what I was using and looking at, because, you know, everybody has to agree it's a great idea. And I come from a large urban area where we actually had a lot of that going on too. It was New York City. And they had to. You have to make room for people. So I can't add too much of it other than this was really helpful. I'm for it. I think we just need to take a look at it. But I don't think it's going to be a terrible effort to do. Perhaps I'm naive. No?
And Anthony came in a couple, 3, 4 weeks ago and told us about the latest legislative requirement, which is putting pressure on affordable housing. So it's building into a tidal wave, and we've got a chance to get in front of it. I like this little chart that you put together that had the definitions of the live-work units in the different towns around us. That was good information. Daniel, start us off. What do you think? How do we need to wade into this?
This kind of animal can take on a lot of different shapes.
Yeah.
To begin, what kind of, you say you've had interest, what types of properties have been interested in this? Existing buildings that they want to convert, or they have a little extra land on their property that they want to expand and maybe get some residential out of, or do they want to have their staff? I mean, what are you actually getting a feel for?
Kind of all of the above. I know of at least a few places that had, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had living quarters set up, you know, already in there, which wasn't technically allowed, but
Yeah.
like they're ready for that. That's happened a few places, or else just people calling about it, interested in the idea of it, because, you know, people, like Lamar is saying, people need to be able to live close to where they work, and it's very hard to do, you know, on service wages. And so, you know, that's becoming more appealing, and it's becoming more common, I think. In other areas, I know Cocoa Beach, their Ray Baldino Photography, I believe, has a live-work unit situation. It seems to be more and more common as people are expanding where residential can be built and kind of merging that commercial and residential in the same district.
Seems like that defining that residential space is real important.
Yeah, and that's
Because you don't want it to fall over into the flop house zone.
exactly.
You know, and you get everybody and his brother stuck into this room. That's not my idea of what we want for live workspace.
Right.
And then the other extreme is, okay, well, you have to go by code to build this portion of your project as a residential coded space. And you just have to have the room for that and to run your business. So I think it's another one of those compromise situations where you, but you gotta define one part of it first before anyone knows which direction to go.
And while you were talking, I thought of a corollary. If some dude walks in and says, I've got this extra land I'd like to develop for residential for my business, should we have a requirement that the people living in those quarters work in the business?
That was just what I was going to say, because I can just see this drifting where people are going to be building it and saying that, and then renting it out for $3,000 a month.
Yeah, that's where it grows is, yeah. And homeowner says, man, I've got space for 2 more rentals now. And that's not the intent of this, I don't believe. I picture it in the arts communities and art districts that I've seen where this really works well. You've designated a certain area and live, work, artists, communities, boutiques, things like that really enhance a community. They're all, they're in that mindset. They want to live into that.
And there are businesses around town that already have live workspaces. And they're working quite well. I'm not sure how that works, but up at the warehouses at the corner of Central and North Atlantic, there's a set of warehouses in there on the northeast corner. And I believe the proprietor lives on that property.
Yes.
And we gave a special
Yeah.
exception to do that. And then the proprietor for the warehouses over by the post office, across the street from the post office, lives above that business. And I think there's someone living over the Kelsey's business. I don't know how or why or what that means, but I think somebody's living in there, and maybe I'm mistaken, but here's a story. I had to go over there one day for a set of car keys. Somebody left a set of car keys in the building. I went over there one morning before they had opened. I couldn't find anybody on the premises. The back door was standing open to the parking lot. So, with fear and trepidation, I walked in and announced myself loudly, hoping that I wasn't coming on a crime scene. And it just looked like somebody was living upstairs. It just looked like it. But all I'm saying is it's there. It's already in town in different places. And it can work. It seems to be working where they're doing it. So, yeah, I think it's an idea that we need to encourage the right way. John, you want to say anything about
Well,
this?
the question that I have is the city aware of where live-work situations exist now? And if so, what are the requirements for those? I mean,
Our code only allows residential in commercial areas under very specific, tightly controlled approvals, and those are through a special exception. And those are for, like, I'll call it a watchman or a maintenance person on, like, mini warehousing units.
Yeah, that's the idea with the warehousing and the storage.
Anything other than that, to my knowledge, is not allowed by code currently. And we are aware of that occurring. I'm not going to name specific properties, but it's occurring around the city. And when it comes to our attention, we address it. I mean, we're not aggressively going out there looking for it. If it comes to our attention, we'll deal with it. But that's really the reason, one of the reasons we're here to talk about this, and that's really the reason that the language got into that policy, is because we know what's going on. And at least from a staff perspective, we're not saying it's a bad thing. I think we're saying with certain conditions and certain situations, it could potentially be a really good thing. But I think what I'm hearing and what our concern is that we just need to make sure that we put some bumpers on the outside lanes, and so we don't get too far afield of what our real intention is here, of what we want to accomplish. And that was the purpose of posing some of the questions in the agenda cover is, what group of people do we want to help? What don't we want to see happen? And that'll a lot of that can be through simple definitions, adding definitions to the ordinance.
Is there any correlation or, I suppose that's the right word, our last meeting, we talked about affordable housing coming in. Now we're talking about live-work elements. Is there a relationship there?
They're related.
Yeah.
But I don't know how. They are. They're just, and they're, what's the word I'm looking for? It's obvious that they're related. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard, I've spoke to a number of commercial business owners, mostly in food and beverage. It was particularly acute during COVID, but they just could not get people. They could not find people, and the people they had, they were fighting to keep, and the people trying to come in from the mainland onto the beach were having a heck of a time, because a lot of them, frankly, don't own vehicles. They have to rely on public transport, and they just don't have a lot of money to pay for fairly expensive places to stay. And so yeah, these are all ways that we as a city, and I've always said, and I'm sure this board has heard me say it, the city can influence what happens in one of two ways: regulatory and financial. And this is a regulatory way that we can hopefully ease the burden and ease the cost on affordable workforce housing.
Do we need to ask the business people to come in here and give us guidance on this? What do you need? What are your needs? How would you implement it? How can you implement it? What definitions do you need?
That to me would be a big question. How does that benefit the city? So
What's that? How does what benefit the city of providing workforce housing?
Yeah. So, for example, what comes to my mind, you go to a resort and you see all these service people at the resorts that have name tags on, and they have their name and where they're from. None of them are ever from here.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just curious about how all that plays into, how does that benefit us? I mean, how does the city fare from that?
Well, it benefits me if I walk into a restaurant and I don't have to wait an hour for help because they don't have enough service staff.
Okay.
The key to a lot of this is, what we don't want is an owner of a property taking advantage of this new animal because they want to build a little rental. So I guess one way to do that is somehow we tie it that owner, whatever space you're renting to this artist or this restaurant, if they want residential, it has to be a part and parcel of that business. You have to rent that to someone in that business.
Who's working for the?
Who's working, so, I can picture, these warehouses down the road, there's the owners living above now, but they go, well, now the building, let me just go ahead and put a second floor on this. I've got all these businesses down below, but now I have work business. I'll just rent out all these things above. No, you're gonna rent that warehouse number 342 and residential 342 as well. You don't get to split those up. So somehow we have to tie the usage of the two together so that can't grow into a wild animal.
Yeah, and from a staff perspective, that's important because I don't want to create a system where it's impossible to enforce. You know, we have to go out there and audit tenants and where you were. I mean,
Yeah, it's,
I think it's important to accomplish what you're suggesting, but we just need to kind of think our way
How do
through
you
it
do it?
before
Yeah.
Well, I don't see how you get out of that. If you're gonna regulate it, you gotta enforce it.
Oh, I agree, yes.
So a live-work unit should have a CO. When you CO that, that's your opportunity to make sure that you have all the things there for it to be a proper residential, proper living, and a proper business with a CO. And
Yes,
that
and
would work for your live-work.
In
not so
my
much for
research,
the,
it's, well,
workforce.
I saw a lot of that.
you can
as
tie
part
these
of this.
together through construction as well, meaning that if you are gonna have a live space, your ingress, egress has to go through this business. This has to be tied together. So if you're gonna go upstairs and live because you say you're a live space, that owner, whoever's down below, you're gonna have whoever you're renting to above, or supposedly gonna be you, come through your business all the time at night. So you kind of stop not that you're still, there's gonna be some regulation, like you say. But you may be able to do it by the construction,
Yeah, this is not a new concept. I mean, we're certainly going to reach out and educate ourselves as well as how it's done.
Yeah,
It's done all over, and so it's,
Who pushed this? How'd this get on our agenda?
This was something that we've been talking about for a while. So we included it, like Dave was saying, in the mixed use because it's been something that's happening, and we want to legitimize it and find these, these other places like Orange County. I'm looking at attachment 3. They kind of address some of these things that we're talking about. And I think it does help foster that, small town, tight-knit feeling, and, cuts down on commuting and things like that. So it's been a long time coming. I think we're just staff is kind of excited about it.
Do you have any feel, say from your counterpart in Cocoa Beach, how many of these situations they have and the problems that they've met?
I don't know the number, but I do think, judging from this, that I need to do more research and come back with some more information.
Yeah,
Because
I'd be
that's
curious
an
to see
interesting question.
if it's just flowing carefully or whether, I can just, I think of sometimes with these things, and I love the idea of having something like this, I really do, but we were recently, for the first time in 40 years, able to get something through our HOA, and it was a 28-day residence for Airbnbs. Do you know how many friends and family we now have? So they're not part of the rental. Everybody is related to everyone
course.
else,
You're right. There's always loop there.
Yeah, so I don't know how you regulate, we don't have enough people to go out and look, but
Yeah,
I'd be curious how Cocoa Beach does it.
Another idea about this is when we started the economic overlay district, one of the concepts that we looked at were buildings with businesses on the street level and living quarters above them. So where's that at? Right now, I'm not aware of anybody that's come in and implemented such a concept yet, but we've got it on the books.
yeah, I'm not aware of it being legally done. Except there's one or two around the city that have got special exceptions but.
One of the
Think
things.
go ahead.
One of the things that comes to mind when we talk about this is that we're talking about staff living above the business. I don't know how this could be done, but there's got to be a way to regulate the price that it costs those people. Because if you have servers living upstairs and they're paying an exorbitant amount of rent, they're not going to be able to afford it.
Yeah, or they'll end up, some of my kids who live in very urban areas, San Francisco, there's 4 or 5 of them and they're together and they're all paying a portion of the rent. That's how it works. But Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms. We're talking about rent control.
Yeah.
And that's,
We can't do that. in the
that's,
state of Florida.
I don't know, Anthony, that's, something you may want to
It's
respond to.
outlawed in Florida.
So, in the industry, there's usually a lot of turnover, right? And I think I'm hearing that everybody wants to restrict to be the owner or the employee, living up above. I think that's what I've heard. So now what do you do if an employee gets fired and is living up above? How do you handle that?
Gotta move out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I don't mean this to, it may sound, I don't mean it to sound like it may sound, but, I mean, we've got, there's city issues and there's tenant landlord issues. And, I think we need to definitely draw that line
Yeah.
and stay on our side. Now, what is tenant landlord issues is, I think we're talking about some of these things tonight.
Yeah.
And so those are policy decisions, and to a degree, some legal issues, but yeah, well, we can kick anything around, but I think that'd just be my only comment is that we probably, my recommendation is we stay on our side of that line, and the board gets to determine where that line is.
So if you're housing your staff, and you have a lot of staff turnover, then you got a lot of rent turnover. It's a created problem.
I had two kids out at Mammoth Lakes, big ski resort area up in by Yosemite. They were living in Mammoth Lakes housing because they were employees, and when they stopped working there, Mammoth they kicked them out. That's kind of unceremonious, but that's essentially what happened. They were required to leave. So that's one way one private corporation handles it.
Well,
But-
usually when you're in that situation, or it used to be, you'd say, okay, as part of your employment, you get housing, but that's as part of your employment. So there's an agreement there, once your employment ends, your housing ends, but you're back to then how easy is that gonna be?
Well, that's easy to enforce. You just write it up in such a way that,
Yeah,
a portion of your housing is subsidized because you're working for us.
Right.
And if you're not working for us anymore, you lose that subsidy.
There's a lot of very good
thorny issue.
questions that we'll have to.
I think you're right, though, it falls back on the owners.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
kind of is like this whole parking thing we just went through. If you're willing to take on that burden, and you make it happen, then that's your deal. But we have ways of watching this a little bit, and we don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of the ordinances, not a lot, but some of the codes that we have in place, their enforcement is not something that's front and center. When we have a specific complaint about something, oftentimes that's when we'll look to our ordinances. Do we have an ordinance dealing with this? Oh, yeah, okay, this has been brought to our attention. We have this ordinance, we can enforce that. So, yeah, to your point, yeah.
As I've said before, zoning is an experiment. Zoning is an experiment. You start out with a concept, and you drive it around, and you live with it, and see if it works. And the main idea being to help everybody live together. So, if, on this live-work situation, my thought is, if the city can put in place allowances, I don't know what they are, all of them are yet, but we can put in place allowances for live-work units. But that becomes the owner's burden to manage. You want to do this, the city will look kindly on it. It's your burden, not ours. I don't know how we can make that work, but that's my thought.
Even at that, there'd still be some code enforcement that we had to be concerned
Absolutely.
about,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the other question is, if you're gonna have staff living on the premises, is it gonna be a accommodation for a family? Is it gonna be accommodation for a couple of singles living together? I don't know how those things work anymore. I don't know the industry.
Well, we have definitions of, I mean, and we've got to be somewhat careful. We have definitions of we actually define the term family in our code. And it's not, I mean, maybe 50 years ago, it used to be mom, dad, and kids. It's not that anymore.
I remember that.
Exactly.
It's can be, I think our code says something like 2 or more, I don't even think it has to be related anymore. Maybe 2 or more unrelated people living in the same unit or something like that. But it's,
We're trying to find ways for people to live together. That's called zoning. And some things are best left alone. Anyway,
yeah, I certainly don't want to tell people what a family is.
just leave that and be. Living quarters is, make them allowable and make the owner, these are just broad ideas, make the owner responsible for managing it. You want people to live on the property, be available, then you manage it. We'll allow it, but you manage it.
Yeah, I think we really just need to determine what our intent is here. What are we trying to accomplish? And if it's, and that can really guide us as we're putting these allowances in, I think as you used the term, Lamar.
Well, we're trying to create an atmosphere where owners and service staff can be together on the property.
So that's a workforce housing solution is what I think what I hear you saying. And is that what we want to limit this to, or do we want to expand it? That's for this board to talk about and decide. It's not easy.
Yeah, that's why we made you guys talk about it.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna guess that we probably don't want to create further opportunities for vacation rentals.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think we're safe in saying that, but,
Yeah, we've already got that.
yeah,
there.
but my point is that I think there's things we know we don't want, and now we're trying to define what we're trying to accomplish here, what we do
I
want.
don't know that we want it. We need to figure out how to allow it. And again, this is just a piece of philosophy I want to share with you that is hard gained over the years. You can go home at night dispirited after these discussions because you don't know how we're going to solve it. How in the world are we going to deal with that? And what I counsel you to do is take the attitude that we're talking about how to help people live together better, and we just haven't solved that yet. So therefore, I'm not gonna go home and lose sleep over it. I'm still working it. So that's where we're at. We're exploring where to go with this animal, and we don't know where we're going yet. But that's okay. That's part of problem solution. You have the problem, you have chaos, you have all the ideas bubble up, the best ideas stand out. You grab them and go, and then try them out and modify later. Anyway, philosophy in a bucket. So we want to allow people to live on the premises, but the first thing we would have to do, I guess, is define, and that was a good idea, define a live-work unit. And it's pretty well done already in that matrix. So that's a starting point. I'd like to hear what the business owners have to say about it. The people that need employees that have to travel to work every day and come into town every day and leave every day. I'd like to hear from them.
Okay.
What are their needs? What do we need to address? We don't even know what we need to address.
I think we can wrangle up a few. Okay. So is this something we want to just continue to a next meeting? Do you want to have a separate workshop on this item as well? I mean, how do you want to tackle this?
I don't think we dare combine the two. Have workshops, we need to have separate.
Probably
workshops.
not, yeah.
Well, we don't need to be piling up workshops. We could probably just come in and talk to us at a regular meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I said one additional thought. We're talking about the workforce housing. How about a contract with the city? Contract or basically an agreement with the city allowing you to do this, and these are the circumstances that we've set forth for that.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is like a development agreement. I mean, we do enter into development agreements with developers on a semi-regular basis. I don't know, Anthony, can you condition zoning approvals or attach or apply development conditions to in this case, a live-work unit, authorizing a live-work unit or units and do so through a DA? Or
Following the intent. Following the intent of what was set forth.
So would that be different from like a special exception?
yeah, I mean, it sounds like a covenant would be just like they have deeds and covenants on private HOAs, and we would do, so it'd be kind of like
It's a regulatory requirement that the city would impose
okay.
and can enforce.
That would be like we could record that.
You record it against the land.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
on the live local issue, some communities that are approving live local are requiring a covenant, a written covenant, to hold the builder's feet to the fire regarding the affordable housing definition of maintaining, at least 40% of the units for affordable housing.
Oh, hey, there may be something there.
Or something like that. I've done accessory dwelling, conditional uses that impose a covenant to make sure that the accessory dwelling is used just for the authorized purposes and nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, we might be able to do something with that.
Seems like we're getting into two different animals here. In live workspace, there's the classic, and I keep going back to the art community or the boutique owner, that's their business, that's their building, and they want to live there. They don't want to have to go back and forth and travel. Now, I don't know how many situations we're actually going to get in where you're talking about a bunch of staff that you're trying to house. That might not be that many places right now that you could even put more than 3 staff on your property. Unless you're coming in here saying, okay, now this is allowed, let me go take that piece of property I own over there. I'm gonna do a bunch of boutiques, or I'm gonna do 2 restaurants and this, and I'll let those guys house their staff. That's different. So we've got 2 different things going on here. One of them is true live workspace, and one of them is, are we allowing staff to live on my business's property that I don't even live on? I may just own a business over here, and I'm allowed that guy, I own a building over here, I'm allowing that restaurateur to lease my space, and now I'm gonna allow him to have his staff up here. That's not live workspace. That's just allowing living and working together. I think we need to kind of make sure that there's a distinction there.
Good thinking.
And that's going to be,
First thing we need to do is define it.
define it. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. That's for this board to do exactly what you're talking about, is to decide what the intent here, what is the policy push?
Well, where's the need? Where'd this push come from? Was it something we generated ourselves to get in front of the tidal wave? Or is there somebody actively pushing on it? If that person is pushing on it, then maybe they know the solution.
Yeah, no, it's not something that we came up with. This is something that in the 10 years I've been here, we've I've dealt with this numerous times about property owners. I can think of two perfect examples. Sassy Spoon, if you know where that building is, right up here by Cumberland Farms. There's a couple of residential units in the back. Yes, not supposed to be there. They popped up, but they're there. So, and there's been people living in them. Another one is right by the VFW, just north of Cumberland Farms. That single, just south of VFW, between VFW and Cumberland Farms, there's some.
Rocket Gym.
Yeah, the old Rocket Gym used to
The
sit.
old Rocky Gym.
Yeah, there was some opportunity for some residential in the back there. Some beautiful, it's cool space. I'd love to live in there. And we were approached with that concept, and we just have to say, no, not allowed. And there's others. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to, with a neat idea like that, it's hard to say no, turn somebody away. And so that's why we're here talking about it. If it's just.
It allows for diversification in the businesses that you have along the main road out here. You can take some of those little strip centers, and if you might entice an owner to come in and buy up one of those and not put a smoke shop in, but want to do a boutique-ish sort of thing, and then put their little residential piece to it, which broadens the diversity of our community.
Agreed.
I mean, and smoke shops or anything.
Well, I like that thinking. That line of thinking is probably the way we ought to go in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with what Daniel's saying, is that there's probably not going to be a lot of businesses in the city that are going, hey, I want my employees to live here on property. There may be some. I'm not saying there won't be, but my experience in the 10 years is there's going to be more of the, hey, I want to buy this building and I want to run my attorney office out of it, and I want to live upstairs or live in the back. My experience is there's going to be more of that kind of a situation.
That's good stuff.
Well, honestly, that was what I was thinking when we came up with this idea months ago, that it would be the owners.
Well, okay. Have you heard enough? Is this enough to go on? The right idea, I think we heard the good idea was somebody that wants to start a business and maybe live with it.
Yeah, and it sounds like I want to kind of nail this down, just this one thing, so let's give us a little direction. It sounds like the majority of the board, the consensus is that the focus of this live-work concept should be the more of the what we just discussed about, the owner living there rather than.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're talking a lot less regulations, a lot less having to make sure that they're abiding by the rules.
Yeah, the enforcement and administration would be a lot easier. But we'll do what the board wants to do. But it sounds to me like that's what I'm seeing, heads nodding and that, going in that direction.
It's the right way to start wading into this.
Well, I think you just don't let them lease out any of the space.
Yeah.
You pretty much did it right there.
Well, I think you just said it. It's a nice way to ease into this and get our feet wet with it, and then maybe later on expand it to employees.
Okay.
We'll learn new things.
Well, what we'll do is we'll go back and do a little bit more homework on what other communities are doing, and maybe next time we get together, we can maybe put a little bit more flesh on the bones, and kind of just continue our conversation.
If you got any ideas for ordinances that are needed to help that, bring them forward.
Will do.
Yeah, appreciate you guys mulling it over. Those are good questions that kind of help us know where to go.
They're good mullers. This is a good group.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? What other trouble can we get into? What else have we got on the agenda here? Anything?
I think that's it.
I have one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, I hope hope to see everybody at the board appreciation dinner. That's going to be up at the Radisson. I think it starts at 6 o'clock.
6 to 8.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's something that the city used to do. We got out of the habit before I got here, they stopped doing it, but I think this is really a neat thing, and I hope you can all make it. So, and one more comment I have. I just got the thumbs up from the city manager on this. I've been thinking a lot about this lately. Now that we've got a good board and functioning very well, I want to make sure we as staff are doing a good job in supporting you as a board. I've got a meeting later this week with a few staff to talk about a survey. I'm calling it a board survey. And I want to give you individually a survey that just kind of picks your brain on as a board member, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, how the presentation, are there things in the presentation that you like, don't like, things you'd like to see that you're not seeing. Same with the staff reports. So this is really just kind of a temperature taking of the board on things you like, things you don't like, ways we can improve, both from on the board side of the dais. And
When you give me a survey like that, you're giving me a piece of homework that I gotta do. I gotta sit down and think about it. And I gotta be nitpicky.
okay.
And I don't wanna be.
You don't,
Just give us all 10s.
I don't wanna be, we've got a good thing going here, why mess with it?
I agree. I think we have a great thing going here. Totally agree with you, Lamar. Maybe we could take it from great to phenomenal. I don't know. But if there,
Let's wait a little longer.
we don't have to do it. If the
We
board
don't
says,
have
no, we're
to.
all good,
You're doing good.
okay, then we won't do it.
From my view, anybody here
We'll take that.
Anybody here dissatisfied?
What I've seen is things get, what the staff provides to the boards over the years has progressively gotten better. There's much more information, there's much more,
Interplay.
yeah. We have a whole lot more that we can prep with, and that, it didn't used to be that way. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. It was prior to you.
The city now, at this point in time, has the best management I've seen in all the years I've been here. And it starts with Todd. He's the coach, and he set the tone, and he's coached the whole staff to do the work we do. And I don't see any reason to tamper with it.
Okay. Message received.
But I commend you for wanting to get suggestions on how you can improve.
Well, if you'd like to individually meet with me and have something to say, I would welcome.
What, say that again?
I said I commend him on trying to solicit ways that they can improve and things they're doing great on. I like that. I don't want you to have a homework and have to worry about nitpicking or anything. But I think it's great that you're trying to solicit information from us for improvement.
And from my viewpoint, if you want to talk to the staff about anything that you are concerned about, just go do it, make an appointment. I mean, we've got a process. It used to be people could float around, free float in and out of the city hall and give orders and edicts, and nobody knew what. So, but we got a good system now. It's controlled. You go in, you check in, you ask for an appointment, you go in the office and you deal with it. So we got a good system. If you've got a bone of contention, make a meeting with Mr. Dickey and go talk about it. And then you can tell me later or not.
Thank you, John.
I hope you didn't take that the wrong way. I didn't mean it to be. Well, so one of the things, Lamar and I have been here, Lamar's been here forever. they built the city of Cape Canaveral around Lamar.
No, they didn't.
And
No,
I've been
it
here,
was
I've been
Bob- it was
here.
Bob Hogue.
Bob Hope, okay, and I've been here a while. And I look, and none of the other staff members have been here, they don't have a lot of tenure. So when I made that comment, what I'm saying is, over the years that I've been here, I've seen a lot of changes.
I have. I've seen a lot of changes, and I have gone home sometimes upset,
Oh, I see.
and sometimes, but lately, not. For I'd say the last 4 years, I've been in this business about 30 years. For the last 4 years, it's been good. And I don't go home dissatisfied anymore. I see a lot of people working well together and addressing issues and doing the best they can.
No, the staff makes our job a whole lot easier. I mean, it's obvious that you put in a lot of time and effort to make sure that we're prepared for a meeting, and we appreciate that.
I'm new to this type of thing. It seems to be a nice system. From my background, one of the things I look for in any process is efficiency. You guys seem to bring a lot to the table. If there is any room for improvement, if I could just, in lieu of the survey, I would say I hate things being pushed off to find out more. If there's something that you guys have got your teeth in and you've been digging at it for a while, and you have an idea that there's these people that are interested in that, I don't know how it's done, but a little more proactiveness in bringing that to the table the night of the discussion would save a lot of time. I know that's probably difficult, but you know, there's examples of tonight. If you had a couple that could just get up and say, well, we were thinking about this. I know this is only discussion, but if we could do that, it might save some workshop times. It might get us further down the road more efficiently.
They have every encouragement to bring forward anything that they want us to talk about.
Yeah, so it's just step it into the public a little bit more and from your side, because you're the ones that get exposure to all this. You're the ones that they're coming to and saying, hey, well, we don't like this. We'd like to do this. I don't know how that works in a system like this.
Over the years, it works like this. When the public feels threatened or dissatisfied, they'll be here.
Yeah, I understand that once the issue is brought up. I'm talking about a city trying to be proactively growing and wants to do certain things to help the city. And as a homeowner, I have an idea. You know, nobody's brought up any problem or anything, but I've got an idea that I'd like to do this. They keep coming to you. All of a sudden, it becomes a point of agenda because it's been mulling around for a while. Those people are still there. They're the ones that generated this. When you talk, because you've mentioned a couple, 3 times tonight, where did that start? It started from people coming and talking to them about that situation. And if there's enough of them to create a synergy, then there's enough of them to come in immediately to fill us in a little bit more. What are you thinking about that? And our time can be more efficient getting that information right off the bat from the horse's mouth.
I think in the past, they've been pretty good about it.
Yeah, they probably have, and I just, you know, like I said, I started with I'm new at this, and I'm not sure, you know.
Tonight was an example of something that there's no tidal wave behind it. We're having a good
New discussion.
low pressure, no pressure discussion and talking about it before it happens. So
I'll just respond briefly to that. I don't want to keep everybody any later, but yeah, I mean, it really depends on the issue. I mean, and I think Lamar really hit on it perfectly. If there's not a huge sense of urgency, if there's not a tidal wave, as Lamar put it, I generally, my past practice has been to, let's just touch base with the board and get an initial reading from the board on what direction they would like to go. And I certainly got that tonight, and I accomplished what I was hoping to accomplish tonight. So it really depends on the issue. If there is a lot of urgency to it, we can certainly, and we will, we'll keep that in mind as we move forward to make our process more efficient. I hear exactly what you're saying, so thank you.
Yeah, tonight was a good discussion, good night. I'll go home feeling good. I have gone home after having an armed deputy in the room to keep order in the past. 20 years ago, we had some real issues in this town. We fought a war over density and other things, and it's in the book. Read about the density war. It was vicious. It was a bad time. So we're not there now. We're past it.
Nice community.
All right, what else? Anything? Yes, sir. Renee, you have anything? Okay. Anthony? Looking down the board and I'm not seeing any discontent, so let us be adjourned.